Hello, and you're listening to the AI Moment with me, Jonathan Wagstaff.
Me, Danny Denhard. So today we're going to dive into the deep research episode that we promised a couple of episodes ago. So Jonathan, let's help business leaders, executives, etc., understand the power of the deep research feature and how we should use it, why we should use it, and some of the great output. So lead away.
All right, thanks, Danny. So I think, you and I have talked before about one of the ways to view AI is like having a smart and knowledgeable friend in the room with you and somebody you can bounce ideas off, ask questions. Well, if AI is your smart and knowledgeable friend, you can regard deep research as your really highly trained research analyst also in the room with you. So the deep research option does a bunch of things. It runs extended queries. It does extended reasoning. In other words, when you ask it to do something, it goes away for minutes. I mean, 40 or 50 or maybe 40 minutes, 50 minutes, an hour. It goes away for a long time. And the reason it does that is because what you've asked it for is something quite complex. And what it's doing is it's going out to the web, it's finding all sorts of sources, finding all sorts of reports that it can cite, and it's pulling together a quite in detail report for you, a quite comprehensive report on whatever you've asked it for. So what would you ask it for? Well, the kind of things that it's being used for really, really well that I'm seeing, it's great at doing things like market analysis or competitor analysis. So if you're involved in a certain field, you can say to it, this is the field we're in, this is what we do, go and find me the top 5 competitors in any particular geography, go and analyze them for me, tell me about their go-to-market, tell me about their products, tell me about their strengths, their weaknesses. And you can go and get it to do a real kind of consulting report type thing. It's really good at pro and con evaluation. So we're thinking about doing this with our business. We're thinking about moving into this area. How do we go about that? Tell us the good and bad things about it. Gives you a really, really comprehensive answer on that one. And it really is the complex questions and the really deeply technical questions, the ones that it really excels at. So again, treat it like a research analyst who's really knowledgeable in a given area and can come back and give you lots and lots of detailed reporting type information. So the things that it gives you depth in a way that normal AI in quotes doesn't. It gives you much deeper analysis, and therefore it's not as instant as we said earlier. It's very transparent. So when it brings you the results back, it may well bring you back a 40-page report, depending on what kind of query you've asked. But it gives you transparency in that it cites all its sources. So again, like a consulting report might do, it tells you where it's getting all this information from. And actually, this thing, some people already said this is a threat to the world of consulting, because the sort of thing you might have paid a consultant £5,000 or £10,000 for a couple of years ago, you can now do yourself in sort of less than an hour with the right questions and the right prompts using the deep research. It's kind of it's a first step in a direction I think we're going to go, Danny. I think AI is heading this way, and I think this whole trusted research assistant piece is something that we're going to see a lot more of in future. What are your thoughts on it?
Completely agree. I'll give you a use case so it might frame it for people. I use Gemini a fair bit more than I used to. And the reason for that is it's baked into some of the tools that I use anyway. So when I use Gemini Deep Research, I wanted to understand how Adidas were making money from all of the work that it did with Arsenal, and it dominates the number of kits that it manufactures for Premier League teams. So I asked it how it could break down how Adidas make money from a sponsorship like Arsenal. And I wanted it to come back and break it down so it was understandable for someone who doesn't have a business economics background. And what it did come back with was something really, really good. I will link some of the insights on the newsletter, but it broke down the $75 million game. So they called it like a mega deal. It broke it down by revenue, by how much bonus that Arsenal would get per trophy. That obviously hasn't come to fruition as an Arsenal fan. And then it says the guarantee fee that it has. And then it breaks it down into and what it means for the different players that are also associated with Adidas and how they benefit from the halo effect of being connected to a club like that. And what I would say is it did was something that would have probably taken me a number of days before. It pulled it together within, a matter of minutes, really. I think it was 10 or 11 minutes. And it came back with a 40-odd page report. And then what you can actually then do is if you wanted to get a really quick overview, you can use Notepad LM to break that down, do a briefing dot, and create more creative methods on it. So that's one example. And another example is running like conjoint analysis can be, and it's an example I used before, can be quite challenging and understanding different nuances. So if you wanted to do things like that and do a load of research to help you on your journey with something that's really expensive, say £30,000 to run, that is something that I know many people have used along the way. So if someone was to ask us what tools to use and what are popular, so I would say like ChatGPT, Gemini and Claude are very good at this, at the deep research. If you're struggling to understand a topic or you're not a subject matter expert, deep research is a great way of understanding that and getting to it. I would say a decent level of 6 or a 7. And then obviously, like you said, if you re-prompt and re-engineer the prompt, that'd be good. And all you really have to do now is either select from a drop-down within any of the tools, or if you ask a really complicated one, most of them now will try and default to deep research. Hopefully that was helpful 1 to 2 minutes example and the tools.
That's a really good example, then I'd say. I mean, I think one of the other things to say is that we see from the stats we're getting out of the big players that the numbers of people who are dipping into the deep research options are still small. It was before ChatGPT 5, it was like less than 1%, and it's still less than 10%. So for most of our listeners, this is an area they've maybe not explored yet. And it's an area that certainly is worth exploration. It's, give it a go, find a subject that you've got an interest in and just run a test with it. Maybe even something you know a lot about, just run a query test on it, see what you get back, just see the kind of thing it can do for you. And then of course, go and explore areas you don't know about. As you say, use it to report back, use it to teach you and educate you. Very, very powerful tool.
And if we were to summarize it and give people, a 30-second, like, must go and try this today, what would you recommend to people, Jonathan?
Well, yeah, exactly that. Go and try it today. I mean, for me, I tend to default to ChatGPT. So I'd go and give it a go there. I know you more default to Google as your preferred platform. Give it a go there. But I just, like lots of things now, I just play an experiment, see what it gives you back. Potentially work with public data. So if you're concerned about, this thing having to dig into your own data, go and work on some kind of public thing, like go and research the competition. So then it's going and getting public data and it's giving you an impressive result back.
Exactly. Jonathan, always a pleasure.
Good to see you, Dan. I will see you next time.
Thanks for listening today. If you have any questions, please reach out via the show notes below. You can also subscribe to our supporting newsletter released with every podcast. Go to aimoment.co.uk and hit subscribe. We share more important links, run-throughs of the tools mentioned in the podcast, and more. See you next time.